Parallel Planets podcast.
Jason Hall is with me. When you contacted me, you said that you've had at least one genuine UFO experience and maybe two. So where would you like to begin? Start from the top, if you don't mind, sir.
Well, I think the genuine one.
Yes.
I mean, as kind of an experienced astronomer, I'm pretty au fait with what I see in the heavens. What I saw this particular day was not wasn't anything I'd seen before. This was in broad daylight in southeast London, a town called Eltham, quite near the station there. And we were around some friend's house, enjoying a barbecue. Beautiful summer's day, a little bit of light wind, some cloud in the sky, and I like to look up to see what's around there. You get lots of aircraft flying through. I like to look at those, and I just happened to look up, and I caught this object, the corner of my eye, and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It must have been about 300 feet up, and it was a silver cylinder, almost like a baked bean can without the wrapping on it. I reckon it would have been about 10 foot tall and about 3 foot wide from what I could see. And it was completely stationary, no strings, nothing supporting it.
10 feet tall?
I reckon it was. It's difficult. Wow. I couldn't really gauge the distance. Very difficult, but that's what I estimate. About 10 feet tall, 3 foot wide. That's what I think. It could have been even bigger than that. I thought maybe it's a very stable child balloon.
Yeah.
But it wasn't moving. The clouds are moving in the wind. This thing was stationary. And it was there for about 10 minutes.
Right.
My friend who was hosting the party, he was very skeptical of such things. But I said to him, Steve, I said, look, what do you think that is? Yeah. And he looked at it and he turned away. No. He refused to acknowledge what we were seeing. I said, but look, it's there. I don't know what that is. And he didn't want to talk about it. And it just hung there. And about 10 minutes, it must have been 10 minutes. I looked away once and looked back and it had gone.
No.
Gone.
Goodness.
The sound, it just wasn't there anymore. I don't know what that was.
And you didn't see it appear and you didn't see it disappear. You saw it and it was there and it hung there.
It hung there, completely motionless, no sound, perfectly smooth. There was not a ripple or kind of any sort of joins on it.
Blimey.
Shiny silver, and it wasn't moving.
And you said what was it? A cylinder shape?
Cylinder, like a can.
Cylinder. That's quite unusual, isn't it? Because usually you got, like, say, the big four. You got the triangle, the cigar, the flying saucer, and the sphere. But I've not seen many cylinders. I've read a couple of reports of cylinders, but I've not seen many. They're a lot rarer. The cylinders.
They are. I mean, as an astronomer, I was right on the case here, trying to research other instances of this, and they're quite common actually.
Okay.
I knew it wasn't going mad because they've been reported and there've been sort of pictures of them, very grainy, but it resembles what I'd seen. It was with your own eyes, crystal clear. But this was before mobile phones had decent cameras on. It always is.
Yeah. Where were you? You were in.
Now I would have zoomed in and got a picture.
Yeah, of course. Where were you? Where did you sight it from?
Southeast London.
Sorry. Yeah, you said yeah. So maybe you could just explain, but briefly, the background in astronomy that you mentioned a couple of times.
I used to run the Ashford Astronomical Society, the 300-member society. I was the general secretary of that for 9 years, and I have quite a decent scope myself, and I'm very kind of clued up as to what's up there. Most things you can spot, I've got an answer for. This, no, could not explain it.
Well, that's
I couldn't explain it, rationally or otherwise. It was there, I guarantee it.
So that's what's probably to someone who's just, I always say to people that just because I'm interested in this stuff doesn't mean I believe it all. A lot of people find it very easy to shrug it all off, but I'm absolutely fascinated by everything. I'm the first to say if I can see what something is, but the fact that you've got the astronomy background and you're so well versed in all that, and then you look up and see that, and you say that you have no idea and you can't explain what it is.
Not at all.
That's quite thrilling, really. You know,
I could not. I cannot explain it even to this day. That I don't think that was made by us.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
No, not that we know of, anyway. Not that us, not that us citizens, we're not told about things. Perhaps I don't know,
but do you think it would be in a more glamorous location, a little bit more perhaps sensitive location? This was an ordinary suburb.
Yeah,
had no reason to be there. It was quite close to the station, hovering pretty much over the station. But that's the only piece of infrastructure there that would really interest this thing. I don't know. I don't know what that was. Yeah,
you do sometimes hear of these things appearing over electrical power stations and things like that, don't you? So maybe, something to do with the train station, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. Is there a big hub there, perhaps?
Really, it's just a through station.
Okay.
There's no reason I could see for it being there. Really, it's nothing unusual about the location.
Sure.
So you've got the A2 going through there. You've got the railway line and a conventional housing estate. Quite a nice one. Nothing unusual.
Yeah. And so there were other people there with you at the same time. You mentioned the chap that just didn't want to know about it. Did anyone else talk about it whilst you were there as well?
Well, at the time we were one of the first there, so the party hadn't really got going. So it was really mainly me and him. He was cooking on the barbecue, and the others were inside waiting to come out. So there wasn't a big crowd there.
Right.
So I could pass. It was just me and him.
Right.
And he refused to believe what he was looking at.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
No. He went.
Have you tried to mention it to this chap since as well? Have you ever mentioned it to him?
I have. He in fact refuses to even admit that he remembers
it. Sorry to laugh, but goodness. Wow, isn't that interesting?
He doesn't like to talk about it at all. It just goes against all his beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just forget it. But for me, I'm a bit more inquisitive, a bit more open-minded.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to know what that was.
Yeah.
I wasn't going mad. It really wasn't.
Goodness.
Anything like it.
So we'll put that one under the Alton flying cylinder case of what year was it roughly?
I reckon this would have been early 2000, 2006, 2007.
Right,
it's quite a while ago, but it's very, very clear in my memory.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, okay, great. Well, that's marvelous. Thank you. That's a great story to hear. And what about the you said you maybe saw a second UFO. We'll call them UFOs. I know they start calling them UAPs now, but you and I have grown up with UFO, haven't we? So we'll call them UFOs. Yeah,
UAP. They like to say now.
Yeah.
Second one, as a driver trainer, I was. It was one night in Ashford where we live. I was training this young lady, and we'd stopped to do a briefing about the next lesson. And while we were talking, I noticed this light at the corner of my eye. I looked up, and it was going up and down really slowly. And I said to this girl, it distracted me. And I said to her, "What do you think that is?" I was like, "I'm not sure." And she was so scared by it. She aborted the lesson. She said, "Take me home. Just take me home."
Oh, wow.
She was scared of it. So we had to take her home and to get away. I mean, this one, it could have been a drone, but it's before they really became kind of popular. So this one I'm not entirely convinced about, but there was no reason for a drone to be flying like this was in this area. Just there was nothing to see there for it.
You were where? You were in the countryside, were you in town?
It's in the estate where I live.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can see across, and there's quite a bit of open sky there.
Yeah.
It's between where we live and the Ashford Outlet. It's quite a well-known location. And there was some marshlands between us and that, about a mile away.
Yeah.
It was, again, I couldn't gauge the distance. It could have been 2 or 3 miles. It could have been several hundred feet. It was hard to say.
Yeah.
It was moving so slowly and so in such a controlled manner that I'm not sure about that one. But it scared my students so much he wanted to abort the lesson.
And it appeared just as a light. You couldn't see any shape to it. It was literally
no shape. It was just a light.
And it was
kind of,
dark. It was dark at the time. I'm guessing.
yeah, dark skies.
Right.
You could see it well beyond the street lamps. But that, I think, could have been a drone.
Yeah.
It was before they were really quite popular, so jury's out on that one. But I've never seen a drone fly quite like that. I haven't. But
Right.
the interesting thing was it scared my students so much she wanted out. So
Yeah, interesting. But
she was convinced.
You didn't sort of, you weren't aware of anything outwardly scary about it. It literally just appeared as a light going up and down. It didn't make any
Going up and down.
Yeah.
It could have been a drone, but so that one I'm not so convinced about. But the first one, I have no explanation. That defied all logic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to put the feelers out a little bit in the next couple of weeks about the cylinder UFO sightings around London, see if there's been any more. Yeah, as you say, the light up and down. Yeah, interesting. I mean, this is the problem. There's so many things now in 2025 that are drones, basically.
Yes.
So it's getting that way. But
and nearly everybody's got them now. But this wasn't the case then. They were quite early technology then.
Sorry, what year was this roughly again?
I reckon this could have been about 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're right then. So they were only really getting going then for the public, weren't they?
They had kind of little flashing lights on them, but this was quite a bright light, almost like the drones you see now that create the sky sort of sculptures. It was just like a single one of those, but this was long before they were created.
Yeah, of course. Oh, they're amazing as well. Bloody hell. I mean,
this was quite a bright light on it.
Sorry?
It was a very bright light. It wasn't just navigation light. This was quite intense. Okay. That's what the scary thing was. It would be drawing a lot of power if it was a drone.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, we'll file that one under the bright light UFO possible drone in Ashford in 2015. That one.
I think that's fair for that particular one.
Yeah. And finally, you have you said, well, your exact words were, you have had a ghostly encounter.
Yes.
Would you like to go into some detail about that?
Unlucky.
No, it's all good for me. I don't mind. I love all this. Keep them coming, everyone. Go on. I love it.
Again, I've got a very inquisitive mind, very logical. And before this had happened, if anyone told me that ghosts exist, I would have laughed.
Sure.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I did not believe it at all.
Yeah.
But when I was a professional musician, I was a pro bass player, and we were recording with my band our first album, and we were in a very famous studios in Islington called Britannia Row, where Pink Floyd recorded Animals and The Wall.
Oh.
It's quite a prestigious place.
Yeah.
This building was a Victorian 3-story warehouse. It had some history on it. But the first encounter wasn't with me. It was with one of my bandmates, Paul Wilmot. And the control room is where we used to meet on a Monday for band meetings, what we're going to record, any news, gigs, that sort of thing. And we'd wait for our manager, and we'd have the first meeting of the week. And in the control room, seats all around it. You've got the controls at one end, got sofas around the control room. But at the back, there's one sofa. And if you look left at that sofa, you can see out of the control room into the hallway. As to the manager would come, his office was next to ours, next to the control room of the recording studio. We're waiting for the manager, Damien. And while we were waiting, it was a bit late this day. Paul at the back, sitting in the chair that could see into the hallway, proclaimed, "Damien's in."
Damien.
Damien
Right.
He's the manager. That's what he was called. But he was a notorious door slammer. Made a lot of noise. Damien. His keys rattled, and you knew where he was if he was about. We didn't hear anything.
Oh,
sure, Paul. Damien, there's no noise. He said, I saw him. And he got up and walked into the hallway and right to where the office was, and the doors were locked.
Oh.
Nobody there.
Right.
He came back ashen-faced, but I've just seen somebody walk across the door there.
Oh, I see.
Really? I thought he was going mad.
Yeah.
So he'd seen something. So, we've got our sort of guard up now. Now, a couple of weeks later, I stayed late. Must have been 11 o'clock at night. And I'm working on a bank of Akai samplers in the control room. You can imagine the door is behind me to my left. And we've got the controls in front and the bank of samplers to the right. And I've got my cans on and I'm working on some samples for next day's recording. I decided to stay late to get it done. And while I was working, my hackles went up my hair, stuck the back of my head, the neck, every hair just went up like this. Just took my headphones off. I knew there was someone in with me. And I've looked round, I couldn't see anything.
No.
But what happened next, I'll never forget, because on the controls where the sliders are, levels and faders, there's a device called a meter bridge. It's got all the input levels. There's a lot of little needles for every channel.
Yeah.
It sits on this bar and it sits back at about 15 degrees on a hinge. You can move it forward to get to the wires at the back of it, but it sits back and it's quite stiff on the hinge. Right. It doesn't move on its own.
Right.
When I'm looking into the corner, this meter bridge has come forward against the resistance and against gravity. Something's pulled that forward.
Oh my
and
God.
It pushed me.
Yeah.
That can't happen. I didn't do it. My foot, I thought maybe my feet are wrapped in some cables. Nothing there. There's no reason that meter bridge. When you pull it, it is quite tight. It will not move on its own. It's got a lot of resistance. It moved. Somebody pulled that.
Oh my word.
I'm the only one in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I bet it was, yeah.
But I just spoke to it. I said, look, I know you're here.
Good.
I know you want to be recognised and I acknowledge you're here. But I'm not going to leave. I've got a job to do.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't stay too much longer. I think I got one more sound done and I was out of there. It was horrendous. And from that point on, I realised that there's something else to life than what we know. We go on somewhere. The ghost actually got named Ian. We called him Ian after Ian Curtis
of Joy Division.
Because they recorded there as well. Obviously, we know what happened to Ian Curtis.
Yeah.
From that point on, if any sort of strange activities had happened in that studio, one of the band members would say, he's been around. There's happened to other people as well. Little things go missing, things move. Ian's about.
Classic, stuff moving, classic.
Yeah. There was something in there. There was no doubt about that.
For those who don't know what happened to Ian Curtis, Google that one. Yeah.
Very sad ending to him, but he was a real talent. But he recorded there as well. So
too right, yeah.
Who else could it be?
So Unknown Pleasures and Closer. I think certainly Closer was recorded there, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think Closer was, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So did you feel that the entity, should we call it? Do you feel that the entity didn't like the fact that you were in there, or?
Yeah, I thought it was quite benevolent.
Right.
It just wanted to be known that the activity just pointed at someone who was there, and it's the only way they could have the attention drawn to them. And it just wanted to be. They wanted us to know they were there. That's all, I think. We didn't feel scared by it.
Okay, good.
Well, more than we normally would be. But we had a job to do. We knew it was there. We just continued knowing that this was in the building with us. We acknowledged it. And when we used to acknowledge, it used to die down a little bit, the activity. It just wanted us to know that it was there. That's what we felt.
And were the other chaps in the band quite comfortable with it, or were they or any of them a bit sceptical, like the
quite freaked out at first, but it became a bit of a joke in the end because we didn't feel threatened by it. It just became funny. But you can't let we had an important job to do. We had to get on with it, so of course we couldn't let it get on top of us.
Did you ever get to the point where you would say put some coins out on the side and leave them there? And leave the room for some hours and see if they'd moved or anything like that. Have an experiment almost.
We didn't do that. We didn't want to go there. We didn't want to antagonise.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, yeah. I'm not sure. No, I've just said that. I'm not sure I'd have done the same. Actually, yeah, because
fair enough. It happened.
Taking the mick of it.
React to what it did. If it did something, we'd acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't encourage it. No, definitely not.
Have you ever heard of any other people who've recorded? What was the studio called again?
Britannia Row, and that was in Islington.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of any other people that recorded at Britannia Row in Islington that ever had similar paranormal experiences? Or
not at the time. I think we were the first to record it. But we weren't, because quite a few bands have recorded there, other than the really famous ones. But we weren't really in contact with them, so we didn't know. We didn't know how far back this went. We don't know if Pink Floyd were experienced in this. There's no evidence of it, as far as we know.
And it was in the 90s, did you say? Whereabouts?
This was happening in 1998.
98. Oh,
we recorded there.
Goodness. So that would have been, is that about 20 years since Unknown Pleasures?
Yeah, 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And about 30 or 40 for the other albums, isn't it? You're getting on 50 for Pink Floyd ones.
Yeah.
So I've not heard of them reporting any activity in there.
I've never heard any of them talk about that sort of thing, actually.
The building is still owned by Nick Mason, the drummer of Pink Floyd.
Is it? Yeah.
But it's not. We didn't even tell the owners really till the very end that something was happening here. They seemed, if I remember rightly, they seemed quite surprised.
Did you speak to Nick about? Did you mention it to him? Did you see him, Nick Mason?
No, he'd come and ask about the recordings.
Yeah.
We didn't mention the ghost at all to him.
Okay.
It's just such a pleasure to have him in the studio with us. We just wanted to talk about music, but no, we didn't. Yeah. We didn't like that with him. So
I suppose also, I mean, I would have been 7 or 8 years old then, so I wouldn't have known so well. But I've gathered that nowadays people are often a bit more open about this sort of thing than they might have been then. Would you agree with that or disagree? I don't know.
Yeah, I think people are.
Yeah.
Back then, this is why we didn't want to admit it at first. People would think you were mad.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I was hardly believing myself at times, but I know it happened. And
absolutely. Yeah.
But now there'll be in that room we would have had a video camera recording just in case. We didn't have that technology. It wasn't that easy to get then. Yeah. The studio would have had cameras in it now. It would have been picked up. You can't prove it because it always seems to happen when there's no camera. It seems to know. It
is like that, isn't it?
It's moved. And I would love to have seen that on a replay.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? And this is what skeptics always say. They say, well, where's the hardcore evidence and things like that? Unfortunately, it is probably 96% of the time always anecdotal, isn't it? And
it's just a shame.
Yeah.
I couldn't video either of the UFOs I'd seen.
Yeah.
Certainly didn't catch this. So you have to believe me, and that's the thing. It's about, do you believe me or not? Am I crazy? Am I credible?
But there's an increasing amount. I mean, I had a paranormal experience when I was 2, and that's why I've always believed. Not always believed. This is why I've always been fascinated by all this sort of thing. And I think it kind of lined me up quite early on to not dismiss this sort of thing firsthand, because I don't know what happened when I was 2. So, and this is one of the reasons I'm starting this podcast is because whenever I don't care, I'll just talk about this stuff openly. So if I mention something in a pub or a birthday party or wherever, almost always someone goes, "Oh yeah, do you know something happened to me once that I've never been able to explain." Almost always now. I've had 1 or 2 people dismiss it and say I'm talking bollocks or whatever, but almost everywhere someone will go, "Oh, do you know, I'm really interested," you say, or they won't say it at the time, but then I'll get a message later on and they'll text me and say, "It's interesting what you said. I had something happen to me a few years ago that I can't explain."
So it's a good thing. I'm quite open about it. I'm not ashamed of it. I know what I saw. I'm convinced. Exactly. If you don't believe me, I really don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? Yeah.
I know what I experienced,
Yeah, exactly.
At least 2 of those were definitely unexplainable. Maybe one of the UFOs was a drone, but the other 2 definitely, I cannot explain what I saw.
Yeah.
Paranormal.
Yeah. Brilliant. Awesome. Okay. That's brilliant. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your 2 UFO sightings and your ghost sighting. I'm going to stop recording now, if you're happy with that, Jason.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.